I'm a Bravo head. And in my friend group, I am the one who people come to for Bravo advice and Bravo guidance and Bravo lectures, basically. And everyone was asking me with all this Summer House drama, they were like, where should I start watching? I've never watched Summer House and I want to understand what's going on. I'm going to do a Summer House rewatch because I forget the lore. And, you know, you really can't just start at the last season. Like, that's not how this works. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay, season 1, episode 1. We weren't even introduced to these people. We're just thrown into a hot tub with Kyle and Stassi from Vanderpump Rules. I had to go back and be like, wait, this can't be the first episode. It's got to be the second episode. But no, the first episode, we don't get an introduction, but it's Kyle Cook. Kyle Cook is at the epicenter. Kyle knows all these people from random little walks of life. Like, yeah, I met this guy at the beach. I met this guy on the jitney. I met this girl in a pool. And by the way, Kyle's 33. Kyle in this episode, I quote, actually I don't quote because it's not exactly what he said. It was like, you know, these antics aren't so cute anymore at my age. I'm 33 now. 33? Boo-boo. You on the latest season of Summer House? You're 50. He's 43. So it's been 10 years. So he's in there with Stassi. He's in the hot tub with Stassi. And he is trying to flirt. But we see that it's not really working out in his favor. Like, he's wasted. He's definitely had, you know, he said 12 glasses of rosé, which is legitimately disgusting. But anyways, he's hitting on Stassi. Stassi's wearing literally a turtleneck bathing suit, which I didn't even know was a thing. But what I love is that all of the girls are like, you look chic as chic can be. Mock neck, turtleneck, white bathing suit that is fully see-through. You see her boobs. Kyle's opening line, flirting with Stassi, is, you look very put together. And Kyle's trying to hit on her. And it's not working. He tells her that, and I think that he was trying to be seductive. He tells her that she looks like Steve Jobs. He also can't get the name right. He cannot get her name right. Stassi, Stacy, like he can't get Stassi down. And it is true that rule number 1, if you're trying to hook up with someone, you probably should know their first name. Stassi does tell Kyle that she's never been more turned off by a human in her life, which I understand. Although she was with Jack, so I don't know. I feel like she probably shouldn't be so judgmental of Kyle. One thing that I noticed in this first episode, which I haven't noticed in later seasons, is that all of the men's lips are like particularly red. They just all look like they've been, you know, chewing on a cherry pop, like a cherry popsicle or something. Looks like there's maybe Dorito dust like all over the periphery of the mouth. They just look really crusty, like around the lower quadrant of the face. Then we see them go into the city. This is obviously sort of the way that the show continues, like, you know, formatting wise, is that they go from the share house to the city, back to the share house. I just love seeing these people working, I should say, you know, throwing out a lot of buzzwords. The caliber of monetization is not up to frequency for this particular investor. We're just talking out their asses. It really just reminded me, like, anyone can do anything, you know? But then we get back to the Hamptons. And here, we get a little bit more into the Workus twins. So one of the Workus twins talks at the speed of sound. That's Lauren. And we see her in the car with Carl, heading to the share house. Carl, you can see, is into her. You know, because he's like sort of leaned over. He's driving, but he's like that. Other Workus twin, Ashley. She's married. And she's in a long distance marriage. I don't know. They don't really get into the specifics of how that works. Carl is one of the newer ones to the share house. Ashley can tell Carl's a bit of a fuckboy. And Steven, who is the gay guy in the house, who is literally our voice of reason, Steven and the Workus twins seem to be very close from the outset. First night in the house that we're really seeing, other than that hot tub night, everyone's playing beer pong, they're hanging out, they're drinking. We see the lay of the land. Lindsay Hubbard is with her boyfriend, Everett. Everett sort of looks like a soldier, like a cadet. He sort of has a cadet vibe. He and Lindsay are obsessed with each other. This is classic Lindsay Hubbard, and this is the way that she behaves to this day. She loves being hot and heavy with a guy. It's sort of her thing. They're apparently already talking about getting married or getting engaged, and I think that they've been together, it said like they've been dating for like 4 months, and they were already talking about it. But that's classic Lindsay. We see everyone, they're playing beer pong, they're hanging out, they go to the bars. The Workus twins stay home. And this was very relatable. The Workus twins are home, they're sleeping, and they said they need 8 hours. And that I get. Kyle brings back Amanda. Amanda is his ex. So this means like they've been together for a really long time. And obviously this is the beginning of the lore. Amanda really wanted to be dating Kyle. Amanda was the one who was pushing it with Kyle. But Kyle has always been very clear. He is not the monogamy sort. He likes flirting with different girls, you know. He likes telling other girls that they look put together or that they perhaps look like Steve Jobs. That's just who Kyle is. I didn't mention one thing. Carl uses a brush as they're getting ready to go out. Carl uses a brush as floss. Like he brushes his teeth. Like a hairbrush. I assume that this is his version of flossing, but he's using a hairbrush. Kyle and Amanda go skinny dipping that first night. Skinny dipping is also a common thread throughout Summer House. Skinny dipping and being nude in front of other men. It comes back into play. One of the Workus twins, I don't know which one, they are identical twins, but one of those Workus twins goes out of the bedroom, it's like 4 a.m, and she's like screaming ferociously it was like Kyle, Amanda, Carl, Carl wasn't there. Carl was out with another girl. Lindsay Hubbard, Everett, like Lauren or Ashley, whichever one of the Workus twins comes out, and she's like, you gotta shut the fuck up. Shut up. She needs her 8 hours. I respect it. And those girls are tall. That has nothing to do with needing 8 hours. But the fact that they were sharing a bed, those beds looked like twin size or like full. So they were jam-packed into that bed, those twins. They were jam-packed. Anyways, they all wake up. The boys go to lunch. The girls, I guess, they get into the car to like go shopping. I don't know why Steven wasn't there. And that honestly upsets me because Steven is integral. Steven is crucial. I love Steven. The boys minus Steven go to lunch, brunch, whatever, and they start drinking again. Carl is talking about how he was going to be getting engaged to this girl. So Carl was going to propose to this girl, and he goes, yeah, like, you know, she had that biological clock thing going. Huh? There's a group of women at the table next to them, like a big group of women. So Carl sends over a bottle of rosé, Whispering Angel. And then he goes over, introduces himself. One of the girls is having their birthday, and he proceeds to eat their food. Kyle is asking Everett about his relationship with Lindsay. Everett's really into Lindsay, and he's like defending it to the death. Just because we've been dating for 2 months does not mean that there wasn't a spark. There was always a spark. I felt a spark. I felt a spark in my coordinates. Kyle's like, okay, pump the brakes. And you can tell he's getting a little drunk because he's like, whoa, pump the brakes, man. Brakes, bro. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. And that's really all I can recall from that scene. But yeah, they were like out at lunch. Then we see the girls shopping. Little fun fact. It's all in the Bravoverse. They were shopping into Kyle Richards' pop-up. Do you remember Kyle Richards had that store? Kyle had a store that was just called Kyle. The girls are looking through some of the ugliest t-shirts I've ever seen in my life. All of them like very patriotic, I guess, because like it was a 4th of July pop-up or something. USA, USA, go USA. And then this girl, Christina, who I have not mentioned. Christina, this is the issue. She's not doing anything wrong. She basically is roommates with Lindsay, and that's why she's there. But you can tell that she and Lindsay like hate each other to their core. They do not like each other. They are at each other's throats. And Christina, and you could tell that there was a scene when they were at the house a little bit earlier in the episode, and they were like lounging by the pool, and Christina asked Lindsay where Lindsay put her sunscreen, and like you could cut the tension with a knife. Now Christina approaches Lindsay at the store, and she was like, I need to clear the air. There's some tension here. Basically goes into this whole thing about how Lindsay has been acting really selfish and is selfish this, selfish that, and all that she does is talk about her boyfriend, Everett. Now, Lindsay, if you're familiar at all with Summer House, or if you're not familiar with Summer House, Lindsay don't give a fuck if she comes off as selfish. That doesn't rattle her at all. She's like, okay, I'll try harder at not being selfish. Okay. What does rattle her is don't you dare talk about my relationship. And this girl, Christina, I think in her confessional goes, you know, any of us could have had Everett. He's been hanging around us a long time. Any of us could have had Everett. We're not jealous. When you say that, now I think you're jealous. This is another thing, like, unless you know all of the lore, like, you can't appreciate Lindsay for who she is. And Lindsay just doesn't care that she's selfish. That's not really, like, something that would bother her. So then we're going into our last night of the episode. Back at the house, there are fireworks going. As I mentioned, it's the 4th of July. Nothing's really happening, but this girl, Lauren Workus, and Carl, they're flirting. They're flirting hard. Lauren's sister, Ashley, is very concerned. So is Stephen McGee, the gay roommate. It's also uncovered Carl gets once a month pedicures, which I'm curious, like, you know, I sort of like that. You know, my husband doesn't get pedicures, but I think he probably should. It could like break skin, his toenails. They're like daggers. They're pointy. Then everybody goes out to the club. At this point, I would be ready to go home. I'd be exhausted. I can either do day drink or night drink. If I'm doing the day drink, I certainly can't do anything that night. So they're out at the clubs, and finally, Lauren and Carl start making out. But Lauren had to make the first move. But yeah, that was the pilot. I'd love to hear all of your perspectives on what the hell is going on. There were no real introductions. Like, we're just supposed to assume that we know what the fuck is going on in that first scene where we just are plopped in the hot tub with Kyle and Stassi. But I guess that it was like Vanderpump was leading into this. And truthfully, of any person on any Bravo franchise, Carl is the most matured. He's the one who has the biggest arc. He starts the most fuckboy and then ends the most put together. And Kyle looks just as good today as he did back then. Honestly, Kyle looks better. Kyle's like aging backwards. It's like the portrait of Dorian Gray. But yeah, I hope that you guys follow me on this, you know, rewatch journey, because I'm really gonna be getting into the lore. There are a lot of characters that come in and out of this house. And I think it's time that we uncover some of the truths. And I'll see you next week for episode 2. Season 1, episode 2. You're welcome.